The Bible has the scripture that says, without vision, you perish. I had no vision. I had no direction before I found out I was pregnant. And knowing I was pregnant, I started having vision. Like I remember me and my mom, we went and built the baby room and we painted and we were getting things ready. So where I was like dead in my soul and in my spirit in every facet of everything and didn't care, I now have vision, I have direction, I have purpose.
So, Emily, you have a heck of a testimony. Take us back to the year 2014.
Okay.
Because I think this is a big issue today, especially with all the talk about the Roe versus Wade being overturned, abortion, unwanted, unplanned pregnancies. And, well, let's just dive in. So, take us back to 2014. Tell us what was going on in your life.
Prior to 2014, I was in a lot of trouble with drugs, alcohol, cigarettes, marijuana. I mean, you name it, I really would try it. I wasn't limited. I was just very rebellious. I really just was out of control. I was a party animal. I really didn't care about end results or anything like that. So I was really heavy into methamphetamines. That was our major drug that me and my boyfriend at the time were doing. And it's just very chaotic. So moving forward closer towards 2014, there was a turning point where I just was done doing methamphetamines. It was it was just one day I woke up and I was done, and everybody else was still doing it around me. But I'm sure that'll come up later why that was so significant in my life. And then me and my boyfriend, who's now my husband, we were living together and got in this huge chaotic fight. And it ended up in him getting arrested. And then I moved home with my mom. And then in 2014, I found out I was pregnant with my first child. And it was a huge surprise. So that was, it was definitely a huge turning point in my life, because up until that point, I really didn't care about my future. I didn't care about any direction. I was just living for the party, the fun, and whatever would come my way. And when I found out that I had another person that I was living for, it changed everything for me. I remember very specifically on that day I found out I was pregnant, that I was going to stop everything. And I was like, I'm going to smoke this one more cigarette and I'm going to be done. And I couldn't even finish the last cigarette. I threw it to the ground and I was like, no, I'm living for this new baby. I'm living for this boy. This is my purpose in life, where I didn't have anything to live for before. It's like now I had something to live for, something to care about.
Why, when you look back at those years that you even chose to do drugs, why were you doing them in the first place? Were you trying to drown something out? Was there just something going on in your life that you had a hard time processing? When did Emily say, I'm going to start doing drugs?
Looking back on my life, so I grew up in a family of four girls and one boy. And my parents, we grew up in a Catholic household. We were raised Catholic. We went to church every Sunday. We were raised in Catholic school. And I was always expected to be something. I was always expected to fit into this mold. And they always called me the black sheep of the family, because everyone kind of fit into the mold. And I just never really fit.
What was the mold?
I feel like the mold was like, look pretty, dress coordinated, make the right decisions, be the best. My sisters were always very good at sports and all these things. And I just didn't really fit that mold. And when we were raised Catholic, it's all about, at least for my family, it was, how do you look on the outside? Do we look pretty when we show up to church? I have vivid memories of us fighting like cats and dogs in the car the entire way to church. And then the second we got there, I was like, straighten your tie. I never really fit into this girly girl perfect mold like my sisters did. I never wanted to dress like that. I never liked that lifestyle, or like Abercrombie and Fitch or whatever. That just wasn't my thing. And then I went to high school and I got made fun of a lot I was a little bit overweight. But when I look back on it, I was like, high school fat looks awesome. I was really beautiful. I was really stunning. I look back at those times. So everyone, and you realize later when you grow up, people aren't really making fun of you because they don't like you. It's most of the time they're attacking you because they feel threatened by you, which I didn't understand that. So at home, I'm trying to be changed by my mom and my family, to be something I'm not. Then I go to school and it's to be something I'm not. And I actually remember in high school, I became like bulimic and anorexic and was trying to fit these molds and buy all these really perfect clothes. And my summer year, after freshman year, over the summer, that's when that really hit heavy. And then I came back my sophomore year, and all of a sudden I was Miss Popularity. All these people who destroyed me my whole first year wanted to be my best friends. And that's where I just like hit a turning point. And I was like, this is disgusting. Like, why is this what I want? This isn't even who I am. Yeah. These people are so fake. So then I ended up leaving the Catholic school because my dad left my mom, kind of abandoned us when I was 16. So we left the Catholic high school and I went to a public school. And that's when I, instead of trying to fit in, purposely found everybody that did not fit out. We were called parkies at the time. And that's when I smoked weed for the first time there. But I really didn't care about...
So just sheer rebellion then. It was just sheer, like, I'm just tired of everyone telling me what to be. I want to just be what I want to be.
Yeah, and do whatever I want to do. My family's life was so dysfunctional when I was growing up. I mean, yelling was such a normal to me that I didn't think yelling was strange. And then I'd have friends come over and be like, whoa, like, what is going on in this house? I'm like, it's just an everyday thing. People fighting, yelling, throwing things, like, that's part of our life. It's just how it goes. So there was so much dysfunction even before my dad left. But definitely him leaving, I was just like, I'm just going to go do whatever I want. You're not here. You abandoned me. My mom obviously had to pick up all the pieces and take care of us 5 children on her own. A few of us were at college at that time, but still having to pick up the pieces after not working for so long because he was the main provider. And
yeah, that's a lot.
Yeah, it was like the tipping point. I was like, I'm just going full-fledged into party, sensual living, whatever I want to do. And I'm just going to live my best life that way.
So it started with smoking cigarettes. Then you went to drinking as well.
Yeah,
right?
Drinking and smoking pot at the public
marijuana,
school.
And then meth. Was meth the hardest drug you ever did?
Yeah. And usually, you know, there's like a progression, like you'll do coke and then you'll do this, but I just didn't even know what any of that stuff was. So we went right to meth, and then, I mean, there was a lot of other things that came in the mix, but that was the big one. Yeah. Once you do methamphetamines, it like gets its hooks in you, and you just want more.
Was this your drug of choice then, would you say, in your entire 20s? Your 20s?
Yeah, all through my teens, and then once I had my son, and it was right before I found out I was pregnant with my son, that I just stopped doing meth.
So from the time that you met Philip till the time you got pregnant was how long?
So I met him when I was 18, and I got pregnant when I was 21. So there's
3 years.
Yeah, several years in there.
Right when you first got that pregnancy test and it said positive, what was your first reaction? Was it I'm going to keep the baby, or was it I'm going to get an abortion?
I never ever considered getting an abortion because I was raised in the Catholic Church, but definitely like my first reaction was like utter terror. Like,
you were scared.
I cannot do this. Like, what? This is insane. Like, I've destroyed my life. I think that's like the first time I actually started caring, which is a beautiful thing in the retrospect because I had not cared. I had been so careless, did not care about my life. I mean, I didn't even care like what happened to me.
Okay, so tell me why your thought went to I ruined my life.
Because I think it's just like I think it's like that full realization. Everything come to a peak. This man that I was like madly enamored with or obsessed with or in love with, I didn't know what the feelings were. We just broke up. We'd been together for a long time. And we finally like broke up. But it was like a for real thing at that point. Finding out I was pregnant, knowing like I had nothing to show for it. I had no job. I had like no means. My mom's so gracious to even let me live with her because I was such a jerk at those times. Like I was very mean to my mother in those days. I was just very mean to everyone, very selfish. So I think it was just all coming together. It's like, and now this baby's coming. And it reminds me of like those shows you watch. It's like teenage and pregnant. Like, and like it's like, there was like, I feel like there was like a lot of shame in that too.
Did you have any shame?
I think for sure. I mean, I felt like a loser. Like I was like, I'm a loser and now I'm going to be a mom. Like, this is great. My dad's gone. My boyfriend's gone. Living with my mom, don't have a job. So I think it all kind of came into this like, holy crap, this is really happening. And the funny thing is I'm in the bathroom and I'm like crying and freaking out. And my sister and my mom are like in the living room so excited because they love babies and they're like all excited. And they're like, woo, this is so awesome. And I'm just like, my life is over. What did I do? You know, because I was young and I was a party animal. I was a party girl, you know.
Did you think of maybe giving the child up for adoption?
I can't say that I ever had those thoughts. I think it was just more like, I don't know. I can't even describe. I don't know.
Why do you think some people immediately go to, I'm going to get an abortion or I'm going to give it up for adoption versus I'm going to raise this child?
I think there's a lot of reasons. This world has made that like an awesome option. I feel like that's like promoted as like, that's an okay thing. That's a good thing. Care about your body, care about yourself.
Yeah.
Like you're number one. And there's no, you know, there's no like, this is a beautiful baby. This is a beautiful creation. This is an extension of you. This is someone that's going to look like you, have similar attributes as you, even similar personality traits as you. This beautiful little human, and your body's like this vessel of creation that's going to change like drastically in a quick time frame, just from the moment like the sperm meets the egg, how much your body transforms.
Okay, I think that's
know?
profound that you say that, but at the time, you're still doing drugs, you're still drinking, you didn't have a job.
Right.
you essentially were living with your mom still.
Yeah.
I don't think most people would go to, this is a beautiful creation, it's about me. Is that how you feel today, or at the time you found out you got pregnant, is that what crossed your mind?
So at the very moment I found out I was pregnant, I just felt like my life was over. I remember that's the thought I had. My life is over. My life is over. And having all these ideas, because you see all the movies of like single moms struggling,
right.
You know. But moving forward, it wasn't very long after that. It was like very shortly after that my mind did shift and change. And I was like, you know what? I believe it's God's intervention in my life, but it was knowing that there was a human being that was going to be growing inside of me, gave me something to care about, gave me a reason to be different, gave me a reason to turn away from all this loser activity of being a party animal with no job, like just a lazy bum living off my mom at that time, you know. It just gave me a reason. I had a reason.
Okay. So was it cold turkey? Like you find out that you're pregnant and you got to tell your boyfriend this, and like you just cut it all off right there.
Yeah. So essentially, I mean, it truly was. I found out I was pregnant, and then the same day, because I had called off work, or I wasn't working that time. So the same day, my sister had taken me to the
clinic
to get like that official report, because you take like the stick pee.
Right.
And then she takes you to the clinic to get the official report. So I went to the clinic, got that official report, and I remember walking outside the clinic, and I called Philip, and I was like, I have to tell you something. And I was
So you told him over the phone?
I did.
Okay.
And we had been broken up like at least a month. We had a serious fight where he actually got arrested. We were living in an apartment together at the time. So we got this like nasty breakup. And so I hadn't talked to him in like a while too, which is like another like, hey, what's up? It's been a month and a half.
Yeah, and
I have some news, you know. So I called him. I told him I was pregnant. He's like, it's not mine because you're like a slut or whatever he said on the phone. And it was a very nasty phone call. It left me crying, you know. But I remember standing out. I was like sitting or standing, and I had my pack of cigarettes. And I was like, okay, I'm going to smoke one more, and that's it. And it's me and you. Because at that point, I was like, Philip, he's obviously not going to be around. He's not going to be a part of this baby's life. So I was like, me and you, baby, and we're going to do this. I'm going to be a great mom. I'm going to do something different, something I'm proud of, something I can live for, to be proud of.
So you thought you were going to be raising this baby by yourself?
Yeah, oh, for sure. I like knew at that time that's what was going to happen. And my mom would support me. My mom's such a blessing. She'd been through so much in her life. I knew she would help, but...
Yeah,
I was like,
your sister and your mom were there, but you needed this baby to have a dad too.
Yeah. So, and Philip obviously wasn't going to be in the picture. And I knew Philip was still heavy into meth. I had stopped doing it a while before that, but he hadn't. And he was still heavy into all that. And I was like, you know what? I don't even want him in this baby's life anyways. And there was just a shift and change. And I couldn't even finish the whole cigarette. I took a few puffs, and I was like disgusted with myself that I would even do that to when I have a baby inside of me. So I threw it down, stomped out, and like that was it. And I was perfectly clean from that point on, the entire pregnancy, and even like a ways after that. There was a point where I had dabbled in drinking a little bit, and I think we ate like an edible one time, and it was like a horrible experience. So there's like a one time I dabbled back in after Elijah was born. But
Don't you
was the
have
last
withdrawal
time.
though? Like, I would think if you were on drugs for that many years, you get pregnant and you just cold turkey.
There was times I remember it being very hard. And I was sitting on the couch at my mom's house. And when those cravings would come, and they come like almost like it's like a pressure. Do it, do it, do it, do it.
Yeah.
I just remember, no, I will not do that to this person. I won't do it. I'll do it to myself all day long. But it's not about me anymore. It's about them. And that was just like having a reason to care, having a reason to fight, having something to fight for. It's like it brought me back to life again when I was so dead. I was just like dead and empty,
So
you know?
finding out you were pregnant is really giving you reason now. It's giving you purpose.
Yeah.
And he's the motivation. Well, you didn't know you were having a boy.
No.
But he
I
was
didn't.
the motivation for you to just say, I'm going to turn all this around.
Yeah. I'm going to get my life together. I'm going to stop being.
Did Philip immediately, was he like, okay, we're going to do this? Or did he
No.
like, no, this is not my baby?
Yeah. He was like, and I mean, I can't always blame him for calling me like a whore or whatever he said at the time, because I kind of was. I mean, I literally didn't care what drugs I did, who I slept around with, whatever. I really struggled. Like, I was enamored by Philip, but that didn't keep me from this like promiscuous, passionate living life of just doing whatever I wanted to do.
So during the pregnancy, what do you think? Like, we talk again about your mind as the battlefield. What was going on inside of your mind, not your heart, but in your mind when you were pregnant that was so different from the lifestyle that you were previously living?
You know, I would say vision. The Bible has the scripture that says, without vision, you perish. I had no vision. I had no direction before I found out I was pregnant. And knowing I was pregnant, I started having vision. You know, like I remember me and my mom, we went and built the baby room and we painted and we were getting things ready. So where I was like dead in my soul and in my spirit in every facet of everything and didn't care. I now have vision. I have direction. I have purpose. I can look towards the future. I can get excited about things to come, you know, and get prepared for this baby and things to come. So I think there's just such a mind shift change. Like I mentioned, it's like the pilot light was lit, where it was like, it was dead. It was just cold and dead. Now the pilot light is lit and there's heat that are starting to come out. There's something starting to grow. There's something starting to come back to life that wasn't alive before that point.
Yeah, and I think that there's, again, I haven't been pregnant before, but I'm told that the bond that you have with a baby while you're pregnant it's very supernatural.
Oh, yeah.
Like it's something that you're not really deciding. It's just your heart is already loving this baby. So you're loving this baby and you're having visions about your future. You're getting excited.
Yeah.
Philip is still kind of dabbling in drugs a little bit, right?
Yeah. You know, and he was, because you start going to appointments, you start seeing ultrasounds.
Yep.
And it's truly, I know it sounds like a little cliche, like you never know real love till you get pregnant and you love this person unconditionally that you've never met. But it's not cliche at all. Once you're pregnant, it's like a love you can't explain. You would die for this person. You've never even met them. They're growing inside of you. You don't even know their name. You don't even know like if they're a boy or a girl. But you know you would do anything and everything it took to take care of them and be there for them. And it's unexplainable. It's like a life-changing love, like the love of the Father, you know?
Right.
A life-changing love. And then when I saw him, it was just like, it's this person that you're like, love for 9 months that you've never met, you've never seen. I mean, you see him in ultrasound. You get to see him. And they're like, so they're healthy and they're okay and beautiful. You're just like, oh my gosh, you're so beautiful and you're so wonderful. And it was like a funny situation because they had to take me to do recovery. So Philip was holding the baby and showing me the baby. And I was like, you're so beautiful. And you just wanted to like wrap your arms around him. But I couldn't. I was like strapped to the table like Jesus on the table with my guts and everything hanging out. So, but it was just like, oh, you get to meet this person you've been wanting to meet for so long. And that you have like such a deep love for that's so profound that you can't even put to words. It was like the most amazing thing ever. But we started going back to church and then we started meeting with the pastor. And he's like, guys, you're not supposed to be like living together, having sex and all these things because we wanted to dedicate Elijah to the Lord.
Okay, whoa. That's huge though.
Yeah.
I don't think we live in a society where people say, why can't we live together? Why can't we have sex outside of marriage?
Right. And we were both raised in the Catholic Church, and that was kind of like
Did that hit you? Did you say, I agree with that, or did you not agree with that?
No, so it was actually really beautiful. We tried to dedicate Elijah, and someone at the church called me. And I love when people are willing to call you out, even if it's hard to hear. I value that so much.
Yeah, I do too.
So she called me and she's like, you guys want to dedicate your son to the Lord, but she's like, you're not. And when you say that, you're committing to raising him in a Christian home. She's like, you guys aren't in a Christian home. You're not married. You're having sex out of wedlock. So it would be phony and fake if we let you dedicate him when you're not actually doing that. I realized at that moment, like, no, that's not what this is about. Like, if we want to really follow him, we need to follow him. So we started meeting with the pastor about getting married. We're like, dude, are we doing this or what? Like, obviously we're going to be together forever, so let's just do this thing. That was our marriage conversation.
But you guys took the paternity test, so Philip knows that this is his baby.
Yeah, and that was after we had taken the test.
Okay.
We took the test right after we got out of the hospital. Yeah, so we were like, obviously we're going to be together forever. And he's like, yeah. So I was like, let's just do this. That was like our let's agree to get married thing. So we started getting...
So there's no real proposal. It's just well, we're having a baby. We might as well.
Yeah, like, let's just do this thing. And then when we were meeting with the pastor and they didn't want us to be having sex, we were still living together, but they didn't want us to be having sex and they wanted us to get married because we were living together.
Yeah.
We found out we were actually pregnant with our second child in the midst of all that. So as we're going through all this counseling, as we're trying to shift our life to get them dedicated and do all this stuff, marriage counseling and all these things, this is actually like a really beautiful time. But we found out we were pregnant with Grace, which is like, whoops. So when we got married, I was actually like 6 months pregnant with Grace. My wedding photos, I have like a big belly bump. So we had both our kids out of wedlock, not the ideal situation.
Don't you think that the reason that people don't save themselves for marriage, and I'm talking about people that, again, have Jesus in their lives and those that don't, that it's just a lack of knowledge of where sex is positioned in God's heart?
100%. Right.
I just think what's so beautiful about your story is that it's like you were raised Catholic, and in a way you were like a prodigal, really.
Yeah.
And then you get pregnant and all those things start coming back, like we want better for this baby than we even have for ourselves. So you start going back to church. Mm-hmm. You get called out, like, hey, don't say you're a Christian and you're living this lifestyle. And then you guys try to have a second baby, which you succeed at that, and then you get married.
Yeah.
So you're 6 months pregnant.
Right. So it was like a very overwhelming and amazing and very fast 6 months for us at that point. Because once we both decided, Philip decided to get sober. We both decided to go to this retreat. We both decided to like go all in for Jesus. God like took that and he was like, cool, well, let's go. And it was like the fast lane. Shoom.
I feel like there's a lot of people in this world that have the story that you did starting out, but they don't get the second part of this story. So you said, you think it was God and God was tugging at your heart. And why do you think some people get the way your story ends? And then there's other people that they just stay addicted to drugs. They have children out of wedlock. They get pregnant and have abortions, and things never turn around. They don't get the house with the white picket fence and the amazing marriage,
right?
And the healthy kids. Like, why do you think that happens?
I can't always explain that. I think God's always trying to reach out to us. He's always trying to call upon us. And a lot of people, what just comes to mind when you ask that question is a lot of people have had like that religious church experience that I had as a kid. And instead of seeing God separate from that and seeing that as a people flawed, broken people thing, they see like that's who God is and that's not for me. So they won't ever open the door to God as separate from that, because God's not religious. God doesn't like fakeness. He doesn't like any of that. Right. Like that super judgy. The church can be very judgy and very hard on people. And it's unfortunate. I tell people, don't judge God based off of people's actions, because people are broken. People are flawed. I'm flawed. You're flawed. Nobody can say they're not flawed. People make mistakes. That religious stuff, Jesus hated it. In the Bible, he turned tables. He purposely upset the Pharisees and the religious people. Like, he went out of his way to go against them. I would say just open your heart to the God who created you, not the God that the world's trying to make you believe that he is. Open your heart to the God who loves you, the God who made you, the God who sees you as precious, the God who sees you for your potential of who he created you to be, and not what the world is trying to taint you and break you and make you into. Open your heart to him. And it's amazing when you just open your heart a little bit, what he can do in your life and how he can transform your life. But it takes opening your heart,
Yeah, I think that's the first step. I remember when I became a believer, because I was 27 when I became a believer. So I had gone 27 years without even having any moral compass. I just was kind of like floating through life and then thinking, what happens when I die? And I remember just staying up real late one night, and I couldn't sleep without the TV on, because at the time I was married to someone who traveled, and I turned on the TV and EWTN was on, and this guy comes on and he's all like, Jesus Christ is the only way to heaven. And I'm like, wait a second, I'm having all these thoughts that are paralyzing me to the point where I would get nauseous. Like, what happens when I die? All these people, all these experiences, all my talents, all these things that I've been given, I don't even know why I have them. They just poof, they go away. Yeah. And it was at that time when I just said, God, if this is for real, if you're real, can you show me? Because I was so different than your childhood. I was born and raised and nobody even said anything about God.
Right.
And then I go off to art school and I take a class called Christianity and Art. And now I'm studying paintings that are an extension of scriptures.
Right.
That are scenes that happened in the Bible, and now they're brought to life in paintings. And then I'm just kind of like, do people really believe this stuff? And that was about, the only thing that I ever turned my heart towards God was just, yeah, I guess these stories have been here forever. Yeah. And I didn't put it together, but I don't know. I feel like for people that, and the reason I ask you, why does your story end up good and the next person's doesn't, is it really something that resonates within our heart? There's this deep down, why am I here? What's my purpose?
Yeah. And everyone's seeking that. Everybody's seeking to fulfill something. That's why they do drugs, or they're super athletes, or they're super artists, or they're super jobaholics. Yeah. You're all looking to fulfill something. So I would say, because God's a gentleman, he's not going to force himself on people. God is speaking to everyone. God loves everyone. God wants to have a relationship with everyone, and he will not give up on a single person until the day that they leave this world. So listen, open your heart, think about, was this just a happenstance, or was this God looking out for me? Was this just a fluke, or was this a sign? Because God's speaking, but some people just don't want to listen. They don't want to hear it. I guarantee every single person in their life has had at least one experience where they had a thought, is he real? Yeah. I guarantee. I don't think I've ever met a person that could tell me that they haven't had some kind of pull or tug in that direction. I would say to someone that has a drug addiction, reach out to the God who loves you, who sets the captives free, because he wants them to be free. God wants them to have the law of liberty, the law of freedom, to not be chained by anything or any restrictions or any kinds of drugs. So I would say reach out to God and find passion, find vision, get vision for the future. Is this what you want for your life? What were your passions? Because everyone has passions. Go back to your passions. Set a vision, set a future. Know that there's hope. And there's so many resources, too, to help you if you get serious about it. But start loving yourself and caring about yourself again enough to do something about it, and reach out to God, because he loves to help people with hard things, and have him help you get through that.
If you enjoyed this episode of Gritty Glory, I'd be grateful for you to subscribe, like, and share so we can get this out to as many people who need to hear it.